Welcome to Smash Fiction, where we pit two or more fictional characters against each other in a battle of strength, or wits, or big damn heroism, and see who would win. This week, Han Solo versus Malcolm Reynolds. My name is John Crichton, an astronaut. Several years ago, I got shot through a wormhole. I'm in a distant part of the universe aboard this living ship of escaped prisoners. My friends. I've made enemies. Powerful. Dangerous. And all of them are interested in this wormhole technology that I kind of invented and pretty much don't understand. So, it was more or less business as usual when our ship was attacked and boarded by Zenithan pirates just as I was putting the finishing touches on a new wormhole generator. During the ensuing struggle, the device was activated somehow and wormholes started popping up all over the place.
Fucking wormhole city out there, man.
Wormhole city.
Wormholes here, wormholes there.
The pirates managed to get away with the wormhole generator and all the confusion, and my ship ended up crippled. To further complicate matters, two other really weird-looking ships appeared nearby, having come through some of the random wormholes that had opened up. One of them was a truly ugly piece of junk with the melodramatic name of the Millennium Falcon. The captain of this ship, a vest aficionado with the unlikely name of Han Solo, immediately demanded to know where he was and how many parsecs it would be before he could get back to his galaxy. I told him that there was no frelling way he was going anywhere without that wormhole generator. The space in this solar system had become so destabilized by the wormhole activity that any sort of FTL travel was impossible, and I was the only person who understood enough about the generator to get it working well enough to send these guys home. The captain of the other ship, a truly ugly piece of junk with the melodramatic name of Serenity, identified himself as Malcolm Reynolds. He said that if all that was required was for someone to go and grab this thing from some pirate types, then that was just shiny with him. He could take care of it no problem. I let both of them know that it wasn't that simple. Any attempt to get the wormhole device would require maneuvering through an unfamiliar criminal underworld, traveling between several different hostile worlds, tracking down the device, getting the device through some combination of diplomacy, deception, and brute force, engaging in some daring escapes on foot, in stolen vehicles, and through space, and all the while trying to avoid the well-armed peacekeeper authorities replete in the system. As I laid this out, there was a growing gleam in the eyes of both space captains, and I had barely finished before both ships turned about and sped off for the inner system, racing each other to the prize which will bring them home. But as I sit here on the bridge, waiting for one of them to return, I can't help but wonder, which of these anachronistic sci-fi rogues has the greater piloting, smuggling, combat, and social skills needed to outdo the other and return victorious? I have no idea, but the wormholes also brought some sort of useless nerd court through, and they seem to have some opinions on the matter, so I'll turn it over to this guy, whose voice I'm sure is completely different from mine.
In the Farscape universe, we went with the nerd court name.
Thanks, John. Big fan. I'm Dan Mulcairn, your judge this week. Advocating for Team Malcolm Reynolds are the space cowboy Kit Mulcairn.
We're not gonna lose. We can't lose, Miles. You know why? Because we are so very pretty. We are just too pretty for God to let us lose.
That is a great point.
Hey, Kit, what happened to the guy that Mal said that to? I'm trying to remember.
And the gangster of love, Miles Schneiderman.
They'll say Han wins every fight, except that one against Carbonite. I don't care, he's the worst. We all know Greedo shot first.
Very good. Very good. Advocating for Team Han Solo are Colin Maurice Mulcairn.
Take my life, take my land, over my dead body.
And our special guest, the Steve Miller of podcasts himself, Brad Bultman.
You don't know Brad Bultman? He's the advocate who made the Han Solo argument in less than 12 parsecs.
That was certainly a plethora of Steve Miller references.
Well, you know.
Some people
that was
do call
actually
me the Space Cowboy.
I mean, they call me the gangster of love, obviously, but quick bit of trivia. First CD I ever purchased for myself, Steve Miller Band Greatest Hits.
Wow.
Very telling.
I bought it because there was a really awesome, looking sci-fi horse head thingy on the cover.
Even more telling.
And turned out to be a really good album.
Okay, well, in order to determine who goes first this week, I'm holding a contest in which the first team to either say Han shot first or Mal shot first.
Mal shot first.
All right, Team Mal will be going first this week.
I didn't know we were actually doing that.
Well,
Quick draw.
click on the draw, man.
I'm up in the game. Mal shot first.
Oh, this opens up a whole new world of possibilities for
I
me
know.
next time judging.
Oh, no.
Hey, take a look at this envelope. Boop, just pushed it. All right, here we go.
Right.
Team Mal, take me out to the black.
Your Honor, Team Solo may try to argue that Han is the unbeatable scoundrel in this match, but I present the following evidence that of the two men here today, Han is just the superior derp. In The Force Awakens, when we first see his beloved Millennium Falcon, we immediately saw that Solo was no longer in possession of the ship. Why? Because it was stolen, Your Honor. See, bragging about your famously fast ship will eventually backfire on you when you regularly bring it into bad neighborhoods. When it comes to his accomplishments, Han is quick to pat himself on the back. When he and Luke were shooting at Imperials from the Falcon, Han cheered at his successful shot, but as soon as Luke did the same, it's, don't get cocky, kid. Maybe if Han heeded his own advice, he wouldn't find himself in so many sticky situations. Speaking of, he's also been shown to lie himself into corners. Dangerous corners. Corners that get shot at with blaster pistols. Also, in The Force Awakens, soon after he is reunited with his dear Falcon, his newer ship is forcefully boarded by 2 separate gangs, both of which wanted what Solo had promised them and had clearly been evading. He attempts to lie to the first gang, but to no avail, as they already know the truth thanks to the second gang that shows up. Keep track of your lies, Solo. You think criminals don't network? Perhaps Solo's most hilarious failure at lying is in A New Hope, when he and Luke have disguised themselves as stormtroopers and take the detention center. All seems to be going to plan until an Imperial technician begins to question Han over the comm system, to whom Han masterfully replies, we had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you? This scene ends with Solo accepting his botched bluff check and blasting the comm terminal.
Drink.
Masterful. And finally, let's not forget the reason why Jabba the Hutt wanted to get his gross, puppety hands on Han for 2 whole movies. Sometime before A New Hope, Han was smuggling drugs for Jabba in the Kessel Run, a hyperspace route notorious for its use by smugglers. During the run, he was ambushed by Imperials and felt that he wouldn't be able to get away without being boarded. So he dumped his very precious cargo into the pit and abandoned a tunnel offshoot on the planet Kessel, hoping that he'd be able to retrieve it after shaking off the Imperials. Perhaps it was not so abandoned after all, because when he returned, the shipment was nowhere to be found. My opponents may argue that Han's level of quick thinking in sticky situations is a boon, the likes of which Malcolm Reynolds does not possess. And to that I reply, nuh-uh. and present Your Honor with this. Han's ego fuels his disinterested planning for the worst. If the Falcon is a smuggling ship, why worry about being boarded by Imperials? Couldn't he hide it? Did he not for once trust himself to talk his way out of that? He was so confident that he wouldn't lose the drug that he wound up spending the majority of the original 3 Star Wars films dealing with the consequences of that rash action. If our teams are at risk from the authorities, so much of Star Wars has shown that Han is going to fuck something up. Granted, it will be hilarious. But when he's competing with a space cowboy like Mal, he can't afford a hilarious fuck-up. Just like that sweet, sweet spice, Han is going to lose the wormhole generator and wind up trapped in a universe filled with aliens who kind of sound like Boba Fett, actually.
If I were Han Solo, I'd be really upset that this match isn't just a straight-up space race. At least then, he and his awesome spaceship would at least have a space chance. Unfortunately, this match also involves threading your way through the intricate mazes of the space underworld and escaping from the space authorities. Shout out to Liz Logan. She's not here, so I have to, put space in front of everything. And these are the things that Solo, he of the "we're caught in a tractor beam, there's nothing I can do" dialogue, the letting himself get tracked by a bounty hunter and led into a trap plot point, and the carbonite palace decoration just isn't very good at. And as if to emphasize his failures in this regard, he's up against Malcolm Reynolds, a man whose entire life is dedicated to not just being sexy as hell, but dealing with the seediest of the seedy and tricking/evading/shooting the authorities. Whether the goal is saving the life of a crew member or just making it back into space with enough money to keep flying, Mal's tactical brilliance and improvisation ability, along with sheer toughness and grit, always carries him through, no matter how not smooth things may go. Han Solo is awesome, but Mal Reynolds is a big damn hero. One of the best examples of who Mal is comes over the course of the very first episode of Firefly. After breaking into an abandoned ship to retrieve cargo for a job, Serenity is picked up on a sweep by an Alliance cruiser, but Mal is prepared for this, having previously engineered the Crybaby to emit a false distress signal from another part of space. The Crybaby successfully draws the attention of the cruiser, and Serenity gets away. When it turns out the cargo is marked and the original buyer won't touch it, Mal finds another buyer in the form of Patience. After arranging a deal with her, Mal immediately realizes she's planning to betray him, sets up an ambush for her, wins a gunfight with her goons, and takes his money. Upon returning to Serenity to find Alliance agent Dobson holding Simon at gunpoint, he shoots Dobson in the head without preamble. Inventiveness, improvisation, character analysis, tactics, practicality, these are things you just don't see from the hot-headed Solo. He of the, "this is my untrustworthy friend, I think we can trust him," and "let's fly into this cave, it's definitely not an asteroid monster" logic. Unlike Han against the Empire, Mal escapes capture by the Alliance time and time again. In the movie Serenity, the operative orders his men to find Serenity by locking onto their navsat transmission. When asked if they have found one, the response is, "Sir, we found 7. Mal also comes up with some seriously good plans, often on the fly, such as organizing a Jane Day parade to distract from his uncovering of hidden cargo, or arranging to double-cross Saffron's double-cross during the theft of the priceless Lassiter, or dressing in drag when taking on a group of bandits with Zoe hiding in the back, tactics, or organizing the defense of the Heart of Gold whorehouse, or, I don't know, painting up Serenity like a Reaver ship, flying into Reaver space, blowing up some Reavers on his way out, and using them as a weapon against the Alliance forces amassed to take him down. When is the last time Han Solo came up with a plan at all, besides, and I quote, just blast everything and fly a fast ship, and bring a Wookiee? Spoiler alert, he has no Wookiee in this scenario. Speaking of blasting everything, if this scenario gets ugly and turns into a fight, okay, let's be honest, when the scenario gets ugly and turns into a fight, Mal has the edge there too. Unlike Han, he is a trained soldier, an extremely skilled marksman, and one bitch of a barroom brawler. Hardly an episode of Firefly goes by without Mal punching someone in the face or making liberal use of the quick draw feat. But beyond mere skill, Mal is tough as nails made out of Wolverine's bones. The determination he shows in Out of Gas to get Serenity up and running again is insane, as he manages to pull it off on his own despite dealing with extreme cold, diminishing oxygen, and being shot at point-blank range. When he's captured by Nishka, he's tortured literally to death before getting up, taking down his torturer with the implement of torture, and beating the fuck out of Nishka. His fight with the operative at the end of Serenity is a study in brutality. Hell, he even technically won a sword fighting duel once. I mean, sure, he wasn't exactly good at sword fighting, but he did win the duel, and he showed enough heart in the process that it earned him a job. Now, Solo, on the other hand, actually, I can't really say anything about Solo's fighting prowess, because when you Google Han Solo fight scene, the only thing that comes up is a reference to him shooting Greedo in the IMDb Parents Guide for the original Star Wars. That's basically the only instance of someone actually duking it out with Han. He of the, I know, I'll fire my blaster at Darth Vader, and let me just talk to Kylo Ren for a minute, I'm sure he'll be reasonable strategies. Mal will get the wormhole generator because no matter what happens, he always finds a way to beat those odds that Han doesn't want to know about and come out on top. From fast-talking space criminals to running circles around the space police to taking a space stand against space injustice, Malcolm Reynolds holds every conceivable space advantage. No mystical energy field is going to save Han from his destiny, and any argument for him is a bunch of simple tricks and nonsense.
Well, I'm looking at the board, and we have 2 D&D references up on Team Malcolm Reynolds, so
we can do better, guys. Come on.
Setting that bar pretty high to get going. So, Team Solo, into the garbage chute, fly boys.
Well, here's the deal. Han Solo is cool. He's the coolest of the cool. He's so cool that cucumbers say cool as a Solo. He's one of the most iconic film characters of all time, and one of the foremost nerd icons. Want to guess how many ex-Captain Kirk fans dressed up as Han on Halloween 1977? It was a lot. During the surreal dance sequence in the movie 500 Days of Summer, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is having such a good day that he checks his reflection in the window of a cab and sees, guess who? Han Solo. The coolest of the cool. Red Solo cups are named after him.
The coolest of all possible
Objection, Your Honor.
Fact check, please. I think those exist.
No, I'll allow it.
They exist in the
He is so iconic that his blaster is currently valued at $300,000, and his leather jacket sold at auction for $191,000. Money that Harrison Ford then donated to the Faces Foundation to help find a cure for epilepsy. Oh, and let's talk a little bit about Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford hates Han Solo. And it makes sense. He's an accomplished actor with a fruitful career of blockbuster hits and memorable roles. He's been in over 50 movies. But does anyone ask him about Witness, or Clear and Present Danger, or The Frisco Kid? No! Maybe on a good day he gets a "Hey Indy" from a fan. But for the most part, all people want to talk about is Han freaking Solo, because he's Han freaking Solo.
I'm pretty sure he's pissed away all that indie goodwill with the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
But why is he so amazing? He's an ace pilot. He's Jabba's best ever smuggler. He shoots first before 1997. He's easily at home among the most wretched hive of scum and villainy. And he's not at all scruffy looking. How do I know Han is the coolest? Simple. He's an orphan. Yep. The poor little Corellian's parents died early on, leaving Han, well, solo. So just like the Artful Dodger... So just like the Artful Dodger, little orphan Hanny took to a life of crime to pay the bills and keep himself in super stylish mariachi space pants. He must have been super adept because he was soon able to win a spaceship off a bet with the renowned gambler Lando Calrissian, who he is still on good terms with. Imagine taking a car or a spaceship from somebody and still being friends with them. He saved a certain Wookiee from imprisonment, became a notorious space smuggler, and he made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. You want to have an epic destiny? Start as an orphan. But now, Han is away from home in a galaxy far, far away from his own. In a new environment, can he adapt and succeed despite the odds? Never tell him the odds, because yes, he can. Han Solo is super adaptable to any situation. He picks up things absurdly quickly. Keep in mind, all of his skills are self-taught, because he's an orphan. So everything we see him do is all his own invention. He pilots the Millennium Falcon as well as makes repairs and modifications. He's really handy with a blaster. He understands a bunch of alien languages, but most of all, he's a really great tactician. We see this early on in the cantina when he's talking to Greedo. Greedo has his gun trained on Solo, and Han Solo's blaster is holstered at his belt. So Han raises his hand to the wall to trace it with his finger in a classic misdirect, allowing him to draw his weapon and then fire with no multi-action penalty. The rebels recognize his tactical prowess and give him the rank of general and command of the strike team on Endor. So bye-bye second Death Star. But my favorite plan of his was when the Falcon is grabbed by the tractor beam. Within a few minutes, Han is able to forge a crew log to make it seem like they abandoned the ship, jettison escape pods, and get everyone into hidden compartments that are shielded from the Empire's scanners. He then takes out two goons, calls the stormtroopers away from their post, takes them out, puts on their uniform, and walks out to signal the officer, the soon-to-be-dead Paul Treatham, in what the Star Wars Minute calls the Paul Treatham Memorial Control Room, that his comm is broken. And he does this all within about a minute. He's never been on this station before, but he figures out where the control room is and how the Empire operates extremely quickly. We see this again when Luke decides to rescue Leia. All Luke does is take out a pair of handcuffs, and Han instantly knows his entire plan for this whole prisoner transfer thing. Likewise, when he's brought out of carbonite hibernation, Han is very quick to figure out what's going on and loses no time helping the party to escape Jabba's barge. He could have been totally worthless in that situation, but he very, very quickly understands his whole environment and what's going on. Han Solo, awesome guy, everyone loves him, he's the best!
So we talked about the men, now let's talk about their technology. First off, let's talk about guns. Guns in the Firefly-verse are seen being stopped by armor on a regular basis, like when Zoe takes a bullet to her chest in the pilot episode. But blasters of the Star Wars verse are never seen being stopped by armor, including the supposedly advanced plasteel armor of stormtroopers. So any armor that Mal has will not be able to handle the superior firepower of a blaster bolt. Han, who is used to shooting his targets in the chest, will have an advantage over Mal, who always tries to go for the more difficult to pull off headshots. All right, now that that's out of the way, the real battle can begin. The battle between the two real stars of this episode, the YT-1300 light freighter known as the Millennium Falcon, and the Series K-64 Firefly mid-bulk transport ship known as Serenity. And don't be fooled, while the Falcon may look like a piece of junk, the Firefly actually is a piece of junk. Whenever we see problems with the Falcon, it's always due to sabotage, but whenever the Firefly encounters problems, it's always due to it being an old, busted piece of junk that Mal never bothers / is too poor to bother repairing. The Millennium Falcon is 34 meters long and 34 meters wide. Serenity is about 81 meters long and 54 meters wide, and yet despite being smaller, the Falcon also has a greater cargo capacity capable of holding 100 metric tons of cargo relative to Serenity's 74 metric tons of cargo. Why does this matter? Why is it better to have a smaller ship? The answer is maneuverability. At some point, just about every Star Wars film, the Falcon ends up in a chase scene inside of a really narrow space that spaceships should not be flying through. The asteroid belt in Empire Strikes Back, which, C-3PO says the odds of surviving are 3,720 to 1. The inside of the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi, and the inside of a Star Destroyer in The Force Awakens. And every time, the Falcon performs beautifully, and I figured out why. It's a little tough to explain in an audio medium, so bear with me, but there's two factors about the Falcon that combine to make it really maneuverable. So factor one is its smallest dimension. Its height is really small relative to its other dimensions, to the point where the Falcon is basically shaped like a coin. Factor two is that it can very quickly and accurately adjust its roll. Roll, as opposed to pitch and yaw, refers to, okay, here's some big words, its orientation along its longitudinal axis. So picture doing a barrel roll. I'm sorry.
Nerd! hard.
Yep. No, you figured me out. Picture doing a barrel roll in Star Fox if it helps. Basically, when you combine these two factors, really, really small height and the ability to adjust your roll quickly, if there's ever a narrow space that the Falcon needs to fly through, it can just reorient itself as necessary and slip through like a coin going through a slot in a vending machine. We see this when the Falcon is flying through a canyon on the surface of an asteroid in Empire Strikes Back, that it is able to fit through spaces that TIE fighters cannot. Its narrowest dimension is narrower than theirs. Okay, so let's talk speed. When it has a hyperdrive, it can travel anywhere in the galaxy almost instantly. Darth Vader remarks at the end of New Hope that this will be a day long remembered, the day that has seen the end of Kenobi and will soon see the end of the rebellion. So basically that means that rescuing Leia from the Death Star and traveling to Yavin and analyzing the data in R2 and finding the thermal exhaust port weak point and attacking the Death Star and blowing it up all took place in the same day. In order for that to make any sense, the Falcon had to travel from Alderaan to Yavin pretty much instantly. But why am I bringing this up? Han doesn't have a working hyperdrive right now. He can't travel that fast. He has to slum it on his normal space jets or whatever. So what does that look like? After fleeing the Hoth system, the hyperdrive is broken, and Han decides to fly to the Bespin system to visit his old buddy Lando and seek refuge from the Empire without a working hyperdrive. He travels from one star system to another star system. I'm guessing that's at least a light year or two away. Most star systems are at least a few light years apart from their closest neighbor. And based on what we see elapsing in Luke's parallel storyline on Dagobah, it seems to take a few days to reach Bespin, maybe a few weeks, but not like the rest of their lives and then some. So that's the Millennium Falcon at its worst. Still able to travel fast enough to go from one star to another star and have it not be a big deal. I don't know how fast that is, but they can hoof it pretty good. Just to wrap up, I'll put it simply. Han is a winner, and he is in love with himself. He is addicted to money, and he is addicted to success. When you look back at his history, he has way more wins than losses. When he says to Greedo, even I get bored sometimes, it shows us that Han's not typically the kind of guy to not complete a mission. He occasionally fails, but rarely. Mal, on the other hand, is a loser, and he hates himself. He lost the war, and now he associates fame and success with the Alliance, and so he is addicted to his low station in life, and he is addicted to failure because he doesn't believe that he deserves better. He occasionally pulls out victories, mainly due to his crew pulling his blood out of the fire, but left to his own devices, he's not capable of much. I'm sorry, but there's only one way this can go. Han and the Falcon will drop off the cargo, get paid, and fly off into the double or perhaps triple sunset like the champs they are, while Mal, without his crew to back him up, will lose his cargo, encounter some turbulence, and then explode. It might not be how Mal planned it, but as we know from Firefly, what he plans and what takes place ain't ever been exactly similar.
Well, no D&D references for Team Han. I did appreciate the Savage Worlds reference. That was nice.
Yeah,
Although
I grew up on.
Of course. Although I do have to mark you off for the extensive explanation of the difference between roll, pitch, and yaw.
It's not a visual podcast. I have to help you picture the.
You've been warned, counselor.
All right.
The lasers are flying, people are being flung through holographic bar windows, and quotable one-liners are being thrown left and right. But this party's just getting started, so let's move on to rebuttals. Team Mal, start us off.
I don't even know where to begin with this crap.
I mean, I have like some commentary. I have commentary on Han's ability to fix his ship. I mean, that's pretty good. It's good to know to do that. I'm gonna say he's not perfect at it. Like when he was fixing the Falcon on Hoth, he was working on top of it, like fixing it on the wing. I don't know what the wing is, what the body is on that damn ship, but he was fixing some circuitry, and then he tells Chewie to turn it on because he thinks he got it fixed, and he damn near almost dies.
Dude,
it's like turn it up.
There's that entire subplot in Empire Strikes Back about how they keep trying to get the hyperdrive working again, and they can't. Right. It only starts working again later when R2 fixes it. Right. So
R2 saves his butt on like getting into shit way more. Okay, so speaking of the Exogorth, my beloved little space worm, space slug, they had a ton of time to chill inside of that thing and fix the hyperdrive. And when they finally get out, when they need it most, they discover, oh shit, he didn't actually fix it. Whoops.
Let me provide you with some audio sound effects here.
I think that we see, at least relative to everybody else on his team, Han actually understands the way the Falcon works better than Chewie does, who's supposed to be the mechanic. We see like Chewie's working on it on Hoth, and Han comes out and he starts yelling. He's like, what? No, this one goes here, that one goes there. And apparently whatever was going on, Chewie just fucked it up. So I think
well, Han's plan to fix it didn't exactly work either.
Yeah, Han was the one working on it. He just had Chewie turn it off.
The hyperdrive did run into problems in that one case. that was pretty much the only thing that we ever see really breaking on the Falcon, and it's not working now. I mean, hey, hyperdrives are tough, man. It's tough to make a hyperdrive work. It's really complicated. I know from your simple little backwoods solar system here where you guys are from, you don't understand this complex technology we have called hyperdrives, but it ain't like dusting crops, kid, is all I'm saying.
When he was trying to hack into that little station on Endor, he tried and failed, and then the real hero of Star Wars, R2-D2, came up and had to do that.
That's right. In that first movie, like Brad, your favorite plan and everything, he's basically a follower. We don't really know how much of all that was his plan and how much was Ben Kenobi giving him tips, because that whole thing, Solo was going to fight it out. He was just going to be like, they're not going to get me without a fight. And Kenobi was like, all right, slow down, dude. We can come up with a plan. We can do something sneaky instead. And Han spends the entire plan bitching about it, saying how it's not going to work. So I think it's pretty clear that's not an example of his innovation or his improvisation ability. That's him being good at taking direction, basically.
Okay, if you want to talk about whose idea that was, I think it's clear, Ben helped him out. But let's see what Han can do when there is no Ben around. Okay, trapped in the asteroid.
Not much.
Trapped in the asteroid field. Doesn't know what to do. Oh, man, Star Destroyers on every side. What do I do? Okay, he flies right at a Star Destroyer, goes around behind it, stops on a dime, because that's how maneuverable the Falcon is, and adheres his ship to the side of the Star Destroyer in a spot where they can't see it and can't scan for it.
Yeah, that's great. And then he very sneakily drops off with the garbage and then, negotiates his free and clear escape over to Best. Oh, wait, no, he was followed.
How is it that we keep coming back to this one scene in Empire Strikes Back in all these episodes of Smash Fiction? This has happened twice now.
Well, as we've established, Boba Fett is unnaturally good at Where's Waldo and good at spotting tiny objects. So that has nothing to do with Han. If the camera pans over just a little bit and you can see in Slave One, there's just giant stacks of Where's Waldo books.
Well, okay, you're making the argument that Mal relies too much on his crew and his friends. The exact same thing is true of Han Solo. You're talking about how, he navigated the Death Star, he knew the layout, he understood the Empire. Dude, it was all 3PO and R2 and Kenobi. He needed to be rescued from Jabba. He didn't even kill Jabba. Leia did with a chain. You say that he, got his faculties back when he was freed from carbonite and was, immediately an asset to the team? Bull fucking shit! He was blind and didn't know what the hell was going on.
And he still saves Lando.
Yeah, he shoots the tentacle that's wrapped around Lando's leg.
Because his sight came back right at that second. That was very lucky for him.
Lando also told him to aim a little higher.
Yeah, exactly.
He was totally going to shoot him in the leg.
But he's ready to shoot, and he's ready to be of service as much as he can. There was no, part after he came out of hibernation where he was like, oh, I'm sick. Oh, I need help. I need to recover. They could have killed him. No, but he, as soon as Leia rescues him, he's like, where am I? And who are you? And, he's ready to go. He's ready to act.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I believe the line you're looking for is, where am I? Who are you?
He leaps into trouble. That's the problem. I mean, if he wasn't quick thinking, he'd be dead. Well, sooner. Sorry, spoiler alert. But Mal is quick thinking and he plans.
Even though Serenity also does crazy shit, the Crazy Ivan and the Leaf on the Wind stuff, you've all been talking really about the ship and about the blasters and stuff like that. I haven't heard anything from Team Solo about how well Han navigates the underworld, hint, it's poorly, or him escaping from authorities. It's not going to matter how fast his ship goes if he doesn't know where to go, if he doesn't have the information. Han doesn't have a whole lot of rogue skills to work with here.
Okay. You want to talk about their abilities to analyze people's characters. How about that opening thing where there's all these new people on the ship, and one of them, it seems like, is going to be a mole, and Mal figures it out, right? Oh, nope, wait, he doesn't. It's Dobson, but he doesn't figure out that it's Dobson. So, okay, ability to analyze people, not quite so much.
In regards to Han not being able to navigate these criminal undergrounds, he's really able to navigate these situations. One of the things you brought up was that in Force Awakens, he's encountered with these two gangs who know that Han is lying to them. That's because he fooled them once.
Yeah.
That's why they know that.
Yeah.
He's in a Farscape universe where nobody knows him yet. He can
I think
fool everybody once.
The phrase that they use is they say, you have no one left to swindle because he's swindled everyone once already, because he's old. But now he just, guess what? Clean slate, man. Shake that Etch-a-Sketch. He can swindle all these people one time.
Team Han, you now have the floor for rebuttals.
One part was that he avoids the Empire and drops his cargo, which is the reason that he owes Jabba the money in the first place. Up until they actually get tractored in, Han has, as far as we know, no encounters with the Empire, which, by the way, is way scarier than the Alliance is. The Alliance is, like, by all accounts, actually kind of the good guys. Like, they fucked up this one planet one time, and they tried to cover it up. But they're the central planets. Like, life on the central planets is good. The Empire is, like, clearly evil and, like, just kills people all over the place. So they're way scarier. And Han is trying to very smartly avoid contact with them. And by the way, Mal also drops the payload for a way less scary enemy. When he's in that shootout with Patience on Whitefall, he's ready to give up the money and walk away. He tells her, we can just walk away and nobody has to have a shootout here. He's ready to go and give up the money.
Because he had her dead to rights. He had an ambush planned. He wasn't gonna just let her walk away with the money.
He was willing to give it to her.
He said he was. Jane was standing on a hill with a sniper rifle.
Well, and that was there in case it went bad. But he didn't know it was going to go bad. He doesn't want to get into shootouts when he doesn't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. He plans ahead.
One thing I was going to say is we see that based on the way that just people talk to Mal about his life and stuff, like there's a bit in the episode Trash where Inara basically calls Mal out on the fact that they don't ever really do any good profitable jobs. Their jobs kind of go south a lot of the time. Like their last big job was, as she put it, the famous wobbly headed doll caper where they
love
stole
those
a bunch
dolls.
Yeah, that was that was a line from one episode of the show. We have seen numerous tremendous heists from Malcolm
like
Reynolds.
The one in Trash where the plan actually came to them from Saffron, and then the idea of throwing it in the trash is Kaylee's idea, and then the ambush is sprung by Inara, and Mal is just a hostage the whole time, basically. So
all part of the plan, man. He has lots of other plans that go extremely more well than that.
Okay.
This whole psychoanalysis of Mal thing you're doing is such crap.
Yeah, the addiction to failure. What are you talking about? Like, he loves his space family. He's gonna want to get back to them.
It's really almost as specious as saying he always shoots for people's heads, which is just not true.
But hey, if you're good at doing it, boom, headshot.
I mean, yeah, you know, but he shoots people in the chest all the time. But anyway, the point is that the psychology that you're spinning of Mal Reynolds being someone who constantly fails because he wants to is just like, it's not really true. You know, when you talked about Serenity, when you talked about kind of his attitude in the movie Serenity, even when you talked about the parts falling off the ship, the film Serenity, the whole story of that movie is that at the beginning, they're way worse off than they've ever been. They've fallen on the hardest times they've ever fallen on. And the movie is about them getting back to the place where they were. So
which is
that
still
is not
scraping by paycheck to paycheck, job to job.
About half the episodes start with a similar speech to that. I mean, like that was how Trash started. That's how a lot of episodes start. It's like, wow, we're facing really hard times right now. We haven't had a good job in a while. Like that's like
it's like 2 episodes.
And what about Han, like on the run, trying to make money so a slug doesn't fucking
because
kill him?
The best gangster is sending all of the bounty hunters, all of them, out to get him. He's the highest target because he's the best smuggler.
And Star Wars
best gangster, do you mean Darth Vader?
And Star Wars bounty hunters are serious business. Okay, Boba Fett or Jubal, who would you be more afraid of?
Jubal. In a fucking heartbeat.
Jubal.
He thinks he's alive.
I'd also be more
expanded universe Boba Fett, not movie Boba Fett.
I'd also be more afraid of the hands of blue than the Emperor by a wide margin, by the way.
Mercy, yes.
They don't do anything. They just sit there calmly with their hands folded and talk slowly.
And make your brain
are
melt.
terrifying.
Make your brain melt.
Yeah, that's right.
Darth Vader
can choke somebody over a conference call.
Some people like being choked, okay?
The scariest villain in Star Wars is a tragic anti-hero, and Han doesn't even take him on. The one time he tries to do it, he's like, oh, take the blaster away. Han does literally nothing of importance in Star Wars. He blows up 0 Death Stars out of 2. He kills, I think, maybe 1 minor villain, if you count Boba Fett, who he killed accidentally and who later turned up alive anyway. So
they can't destroy the Death Star without the shield base being destroyed first.
That's a good point. So he goes to the shield base to take it down, gets ambushed by the Empire, gets taken captive, and only manages to do his job after Ewoks attack.
Because that was set up by the Emperor as a trap. He succeeded in the shield base the first time before the extra troops run in.
Okay, I feel like we're going in circles on this a little bit. Team Han, do you have any last-minute points to bring up?
I would like to address the fact that Miles clearly is hating on Lando for betraying Han, even though He is trustworthy and can trust his friend. That's why Lando joins up later. And Lando, as he said, had no choice. The Empire literally arrived just before Han did, as he says in the movie. So Lando is not involved in any betrayal.
He betrays him.
Yeah.
Lando's not involved in any betrayal?
I mean, he betrays him basically gun to his head and gun to the head of all of his people. So, I mean, that's a much harder betrayal to see coming. So, I mean, in terms of Han not being savvy.
Stay on good terms later.
Yeah. Han seemed pretty busted up about it when he busted Lando's, like, freaking jaw.
One last point I want to throw
in. And Mal sniffs out all kinds of betrayals, from Patience to Jane.
Not the first time with Saffron. He fell for that pretty hard.
Well, I mean, fuck, you would too, and so would I. And so would Han, for that matter.
Yeah. All right, real quick, the one last thing I want to talk about. You talk about there not being enough examples of Han doing crazy things. How about surviving the night on Hoth, which, according to C-3PO and R2-D2, the chances of surviving are 725 to 1. So, again...
He always says shit like that.
I think he doesn't know statistics.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think that's his, like, programming. I think he just likes to look smart.
R2 who came up
You're
with this
leaning
statistics.
a lot on
So,
3PO
Kate, you
statistics.
saying you don't like R2's statistics.
Oh, no!
Oh, yeah.
I have to commit seppuku.
All right, and with that,
I'm so sorry, R2.
I hate to interrupt, but Captain, I'm picking up something on our sensors. No, it can't be. It's the lightning round.
It's
What a shock!
Space round, the space lightning round.
Brad,
space.
no.
Brad, you're going to spend my lightning round narration sitting in the corner thinking about what you just did. Our heroes have left dozens of dead pirates, exploded spaceships, and broken hearts behind them in their quest for the wormhole device. And now, both Han and Mal race each other into the Pirate Queen's vault to retrieve their goal. Unfortunately for them, the wormhole device is locked down by the security system installed by its inventor, John Crichton. But this is no straightforward keypad or retina scanner. The security system is a mid-2000s era flat-screen TV with a pair of wired controllers disappearing into a small box at its base.
Oh, no.
Activating the box, the two smugglers are confronted by
your favorite Miles.
The two smugglers are confronted by a seemingly nonsensical series of words on the screen. Super Smash Bros. It turns out that the wormhole device...
It's a video game that I know.
It turns out that the wormhole device will only work for the person who is able to prove his superiority in this, the greatest of all fighting games, because John Crichton is basically a 14-year-old.
All right,
So-
now I know Star Wars uses some pretty soft sci-fi at times, but can I just get a little bit of an explanation on the technology here, or are we just gonna...
Nope, we're moving on.
All right.
Yeah. Dan, can you explain how the pitch and the yaw works for this game?
You know
In
what?
terms I understand.
Coincidentally, no joke, the first time I was exposed to the terms pitch, yaw, and roll were in one of the wrestling games for the GameCube.
That's how I learned
Dude,
it too.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So it's all part of a symbiont circle. So, advocates. Of the vast stable of Smash Brothers characters out there, which will your contestant choose? What strategy will you be employing in which stages? And why will you be the one to return to your homeworld, leaving your opposition, like Farscape itself, the victim of an eternally unresolved cliffhanger ending? Team Han, you went second in the regular round, so you are up first right now.
I think that it's probably pretty clear that Han would favor the Star Fox verse characters,
I thought so as well.
Yeah, the cunning and roguishly handsome, if animal characters, such as I think the one he probably would be gravitated most towards is, let's be honest, Falco. I mean,
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good blaster.
One who has all the skills he lacks, yeah.
Falco, as we know, is an incredibly aggressive character. Whenever I played it in 2-on-2 with my friends, whenever one of us was playing Falco, the other one was just hanging back and hiding, because Falco can rack up a ton of kills, but dies a whole hell of a lot as well, because he just overextends all the time in order to get those kills. And so we actually would always just pair up Falco with a defensive character who would just dodge and then not die. Often it would be Mewtwo. And then when Falco ran out of life, he would just start borrowing lives from Mewtwo so he could keep getting kills. That was our go-to strategy.
Out of curiosity, is there a reason you didn't go with just two Falcos?
I think that maybe one of us wasn't as good with Falco.
Okay.
So, Falco's hard to play, man.
All right, sorry, I don't want to get too into the weeds on this.
No.
Just
Yeah,
curious.
it's a fair.
All right.
That's a fair question. Maybe we should have done two Falcos now that I think about it. But anyway, hindsight is stuff. Brad, any other thoughts?
No, I totally agree. I think he's going to favor somebody with a good blaster. And I think what you said about it being very aggressive makes sense with Han's personality, because he basically, when he is in a battle, we see that he basically runs in, blasters charging. He hits people right away, and he'll take on like huge numbers, and he just like runs in screaming. So I think that works really well for his character, and he would definitely just be somebody really aggressive.
Okay. Team Mal, choose your fighter.
So one of the things I didn't get a chance to bring up in our regular arguments that I think is an important point when you're considering Malcolm Reynolds is his I'm helping to explain my choice here, sir. Thank you. Is his team building ability, his leadership skills.
Mal has. See where you're going with this.
Yeah, Mal has the ability to really draw different people to him just instantly, like when he, gets Jane to switch sides and join his team. Mm-hmm. So given that emphasis on teamwork and utilizing all the skills of his various people, I think Mal would go Ice Climbers with this one. And, Ice Climbers in Super Smash Bros. Brawl are rated tremendously. I believe they're the second best. They are the very top of the second tier, and there's only one other character in the first tier. So they're considered one of the best characters in Brawl, which I'm going to go ahead and say is the one we're playing. We know how well he grapples. Like that whole fight with the operative there at the end, that's all grappling there. So Ice Climbers have tremendous grabs. And again, if you can play them correctly, you can like desync them, decouple them, use them to work together, use them to stay the same. And, the best thing about them is that there are two of them. So if one of them dies, you still have another one there to go along with. I think that that Mal is going to just chain grab the shit out of Falco in this contest, get in close, render the blaster useless, and he's going to be spinning into that little sparkle in the sky.
Well, there's something I think we can all agree on here, and that is that members of Mal's crew will die.
He's probably going to try and keep it a little more old school. He's a little, he doesn't do the whole laser pistol thing. Maybe someone with a more real gun, like Bayonetta.
Sure, yeah.
Fiercest.
I should also add that Mal objectively has a stronger command of tactics than Han. So
I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
No, he relies on his team for that.
All right, I have a rebuttal, but we're out of this section.
Yeah,
so
no,
we're into that. I don't want to bring that up.
Stop trying to drag us back in, Miles.
Sorry, I had more points to make.
I did too. I have a giant
Well, maybe if you had my brilliant tactical mind, then you would be able to wedge them in places.
All right, look, you're all great, okay? You've all done an excellent job representing your respective characters here today. So I'd love to tell you who the winner is, but I just spotted Boba Fett across the room leading two men with blue gloves on in my direction. So I'm gonna I'm gonna slip out the back.
Oh shit, that's bad news, buddy.
I'll try to meet up with you guys later. If you don't hear from me, avenge my death.
Against them? No.
Yeah, sorry, you're out of luck.
I'll just, take their gloves off. That's my plan.
Is that the source of their powers?
Their big scary weapon is a $2 box of latex gloves.
They're like Samson, but with blue gloves.
Yeah. Maybe they're like super germophobic.
So you take their gloves off and they just like freak out and they have like a panic attack?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to get like their victim's blood on their hands. Yeah. So it's like, no.
So what you're saying is that they were just two people that met each other and bonded over their mutual dislike of germs and then started wearing blue gloves together because they knew that the other one wouldn't judge them. And they just sort of like enable each other's like neuroses, and it's kind of become a vicious cycle of their hypochondria.
Yeah, that's
buddy,
exactly
it takes all sorts. It takes all sorts.
So this one was probably one of the most fun ones to do research for.
There's just like everything was so entertaining with both Star Wars and Firefly.
Yeah.
I remember when we were talking about this episode that I think that everyone was kind of okay with either side to a degree that is not really the case with a lot of our matches, because we both love both of these characters so much, Well,
that's the thing, is that like this has been on our list. This has been at the top of our list for a long time since we started. Yeah. This was part of the original iteration of matches that we came up with. Yeah. We always kind of kept putting it off because, well, for one thing, Kit had an extended absence and we wanted to wait for her because she is just in love with this matchup, and rightly so. But for another thing, it was just like we knew we'd get to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you have to do this fight.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I'm curious, are people actually on their favorite side? Because I love both characters so much, but I
don't
think
really know, honestly.
I think I love Mal more. Like,
I'm absolutely on my favorite side, but that's because I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan in the world.
Yeah,
Han is a great character, but like I probably wouldn't like him in person because he's pretty moody and snappy.
He's way more curmudgeon-y than Mal is. Mal is like actually like I wanted to think how these guys would agree with each other, like if they actually met each other, like would they like each other and like that they were both rule breaking guys? And I think they would really actually hate each other if they actually met each other.
Well, you know what's funny is that Mal in his original incarnation was meant to be much darker and a lot less jocular and funny, but Fox asked Whedon to tone the character down a little bit.
I'm actually happy about that.
I am too.
That's actually a good call.
It was a great choice. Yeah.
One thing that I think is really great about Mal is the fact that you see that he's both sort of heroic and villainous and depressed in some ways, and then like optimistic in other ways, oddly, every once in a while. It's really weird, yeah. Anyway.
He puts a ton of faith in people that he actually does trust.
What? Oh, damn. I just realized an argument that I should have really brought up.
What was that?
So, we were talking a little bit about the coolness and sexiness of these characters, like you do. But I can't believe that it never came up in the argument. There is an instant kill argument in favor of Mal in this,
What's that?
Which is that his unofficial nickname among the fandom is Captain Tight Pants.
Oh my.
I think,
that's true.
yeah, I mean...
that beats a scruffy-looking nerf herder.
It really does.
I had a giant list of quotes from both movies, and I didn't even get through like half of them. I wanted to throw more into my argument and more into
I know.
stuff. Yeah.
I know. I was writing my opening. I'm like, there are not nearly enough references in this, but, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, that's why the good Lord invented the gag reel at the end of the credits.
That's right.
So, yeah, really well done. I'm really impressed by the type and quality of arguments that both sides were able to bring to this. I think that Team Mal really emphasized and convinced me that on the ground, Mal is superior. You guys convinced me that he's an excellent shot. He's almost superhumanly tough. He's very clever, very smart, thinks ahead, and can also improvise. Whereas it was clear to me going in, but like you guys both really underlined how much Han's technology puts him ahead of Mal in a lot of different ways. Like the Serenity, as much as I have affection for it, is a joke compared to the Millennium Falcon. It just is.
Oh yeah,
it absolutely is. So, and like, and Han is so.
Why do you think we didn't mention any of that shit in our argument?
You're just like, nope, you're right. Moving on. So.
Yep.
Oh, I should have saved
advantage conceded.
Yeah, I could have like spent a lot less of my argument on that. I won that point like in. Probably could have won that point
Before
in like 3 sentences.
Buddy.
All right.
Yeah,
Great.
you didn't even have to mention roll yawn pitch.
God, could have. Think of all the time I could have spent. All right, forget it. Moving on.
So really what it came down to was you have a guy who frequently makes bad calls and who has talent but not a ton of foresight, but who has like a superior ship and hardware by magnitudes. And then you have this other guy who's smarter and tougher and maybe a little bit more resourceful. And I have to say, when you kind of put it in those terms, I think Mal kind of has a bit of a home field advantage because that's always what he deals with. He's always up against people who are more technologically superior than him. And he always wins because he's able to outthink them and he's able to outplan them. So I think in this one, Mal wins against Han Solo.
Woo-woo!
Well fought, gentlemen.
Yes.
Well fought.
Excellent job on both sides. Seriously, that was really impressive bullshitting.
Yeah.
I was very pleased.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, this was.
I thought you guys owned the rebuttals against us.
Yeah.
For the
You're
record.
bringing it.
Yeah, I had more, but I didn't get to.
Oh, I had more too.
I mean, we all had. We could have. This could have been like a 2-part episode. Seriously, we could have.
really
we could have
been.
had like, all right, just Han versus Mal in a gunfight. That's one episode. Now here's the 2 ships in an episode. All right, it's 5 minutes.
You know, maybe that's our new podcast. Maybe our podcast is now just Han Solo versus Malcolm Reynolds, and every episode is just one part of that fight.
Okay.
Welcome to the Han Solo versus Malcolm Reynolds.
All right,
podcast. Episode 16.
Episode 4
In
is-
that niche market, yeah.
Very well done, guys. You guys kicked ass. You guys did a great job. So.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, thank you.
Hit hard.
Brad, as always, you are a welcome
Yes.
invisible face on this podcast.
Anytime, Brad.
For real.
I really do love your podcast just so much. Like, when I first started listening, it was like kind of like, hey, like Colin's doing this thing and like, I should help. And then I became like addicted to it.
Aw.
Probably,
Aw.
After every episode, I get an angry phone call from Brad. I'm like, no, that's no, and like stuff like that. It's great. So
We have people to thank, as always. We have lovely, lovely fans. To Twitter, we got a really, really lovely message. Thank you, Eugene. It really, really touched us once again, right in the cockles. Paladin Today tweeted us and pointed out that,
As always.
that Dante hasn't been rolling for his runes.
Yeah.
Damn it, Dan and Liz.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's not a good mechanic, is what I've come to the conclusion.
Like Dante is not overpowered enough when Liz plays him.
As long as she's got karma, man.
Thank you for pointing that out to me, Paladin, today. I know that, like, under other circumstances, it might sound like I'm being sarcastic and angry at you pointing out my failures, but no. Like, it's genuinely not a good mechanic, and I'm going to replace it with something else. I have some other ideas.
I don't know.
in mind.
I think Liz could write in gigantic letters on her character sheet to remind herself.
Well,
if we're counting on Liz to remember things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's about as likely as me writing down my initiative score.
Once again, the only perfect player is Colin, apparently.
And now, to briefly to Tumblr, Megan Bob, our beloved Megan Bob, reblogged Daenerys Mordor.
Oh, that's just self-promotion right there.
Yeah, so thanks for nothing, Megan Bob.
She was on that episode.
In podcast news, Sup Nerds mentioned us on their latest episode.
Although again, they mentioned the Ash versus Jurassic Park episode, so self-promotion on their part. So
shameless self-promotion.
Hey, if they have listeners that we don't have, come on over.
That's true. That's true. So thanks to all of the jerks.
All of those selfish jerks out there.
That's right.
Our cockles are on fire.
We're all just selfish jerks helping each other.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
For our
jerks
selfish
helping
reasons.
jerks.
Yeah. Jerking each other out. What?
Nope. Thank you as always for listening to Smash Fiction. Next week we will be releasing our next episode of Extraordinary League, our actual play RPG podcast. And then the week after that, Stitch versus Toothless. Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman, with logo design by Colin Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin MacLeod for our theme song, which is called Hitman. You can find his work at www.incompetech.com.
You can follow the Smash Fiction podcast on Twitter at SmashFicPodcast and search for us on Facebook and Tumblr.
Subscribe on iTunes, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.